You guys ready to talk about Abraxas by Santana?
I am ready.
Matt, how about you?
All right. Hey, wait, hang on. Okay. Wait. Yes, now I'm ready. All right, let's do it.
Well, what did Matt just do right there to get ready?
Just needed to, get ready.
Okay.
So, wait, no, I lost it. Hang on. All right, let's go. Let's do it. Let's go before I lose it again.
All right, 15 minutes. Here we go. Abraxas by Santana. Initial thoughts. Josh, let's go with you.
Wait, before we do initial thoughts, we need to do numbers.
Yes,
let's
John.
do numbers. All right, so I'll stop the clock.
So this comes in
already smooth.
With the Rolling Stone. The Rolling Stone had this ranked at 334, and then Best Ever Albums has this listed as number 117 in the 1970s, so a little close to where us almost covering it. Number 18 in 1970, and number 503 overall. So
Wow,
Josh.
okay. There we go.
All right. So this, to me, this album is what you think of when you think of Santana, right? It's got all the classic, well-known Santana songs, except the one with Matchbox 20, but I'll leave that on the side. We got Black Magic Woman, Oye Como Va, and one other one, Sea Cabo, I think I recognized as well. And it's great. I still find it so strange that, Santana is not a singer, and yet he headlines the band, and he's got multiple singers. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's just very unique in the bands that we listen to. It's very rare that a guy who heads the band is not also singing, in my opinion. I love
There's a couple I can think of. Like Van Halen comes to mind immediately, but there's
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess I don't think of that, though. For some reason, I guess I just think of David Lee Roth as also Van Halen.
Well, because he was out there. He was the front man.
Yeah.
And even Sammy Hagar was a front man,
Yeah.
But Santana's the build guy. And can you even name the guy that's singing the vocals in Santana?
No.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So
We still got the first album that we talked about way back when. I have to double check when we talked about that back in season 1. But you've got the signature guitar sound from Santana. You've got the bongos, the Latin sound, Spanish sound. No, not the Spanish sound. The California Mexican sound that's bringing, that we haven't heard from any other band, and that he kind of revolutionized. I really enjoyed the ability for them to have multiple singers on this album. Kind of mixed it up. I was surprised at how instrumental this album was as well. I was expecting more singing, but I guess you gotta let Santana play his guitar. So that's not necessarily a knock on the album, but it is pretty instrumental. It's a short album, short and sweet. The band play through all the songs relatively quickly, and they're all very distinct. It sounds great, and with one listen, I would be interested to further delve into it. But I am positive on this album at the initial listen. This is the first time I've ever heard this album too, by the way. So,
Okay.
Yeah, what did you think, Matt?
So I didn't know this album either, but I knew the two songs, Black Magic Woman and Oye Como Va. Black Magic Woman makes me think of Rock Band, because I really got a gain of greater appreciation of that on Rock Band. That's really fun to play. And then Oye Como Va always reminds me of the Big Lebowski, when they're in the scene after getting getting the In-N-Out burger after the guy busts up their car. Remember that?
This is what happens.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you get the feeling that like our 90s episodes are just going to be all referential to pop culture if we're not careful?
That's what I'm doing. I mean, that's. But anyway, so I like this. To me, this seems like volume 2 of the debut album. I think that this is probably more well known because of those two songs. Although Santana, the debut album, did have Evil Ways, and that's kind of a more of a well known Santana song.
Yeah, I would agree.
But the idea that, you're right, Josh, there's not a ton of vocals on this, but that's what the first album was like, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there were several songs that did not have vocals, that were mostly instrumental, and you're finding that here as well. I tend to like those songs better. I'm not as huge, although I do like Black Magic Woman. Oye Como Va, I don't know if there is vocals there, but it's kind of, it's very minimal, I think. It's mostly the instrumentation, whereas Black Magic Woman's more of a traditional type of song. I think I do like the instrumentation better than when there's no vocals, oddly enough. And this, to me, there's jazzy elements here. It's pretty, particularly I'm thinking of the first song. Reminded me of Little Miles Davis in that, when you're listening to something like the tracks that we listened to on In a Silent Way, there were huge sections in those songs where Miles Davis wasn't playing at all. And in that first section, that first song, Singing Winds, Crying Beats, in this album, I think Santana's barely playing at all. There's like no guitar really at all. So he's kind of like letting other musicians, do their thing a little bit. Lots of keys, not just you're definitely getting the Latin drums, the bongos are all over this, but a lot of keys. This is a very keyboard heavy album as well, which I think, at times can be jazzy, at times can be a little bit more of a bluesy, like a blues rock, like the, Hope You're Feeling Better. It's like a hard, like organ in the very beginning of that song. So there's, even if, you're not into some of the more jammy Latin feel songs, even though that's, kind of a primary sound here, there's other stuff going on here that kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. But I do like Santana, but like I said, I can't really, this might stand out a little bit more because of those two songs that I know so well and really do like. But I really don't know if there's much of a difference between this and the first album, and that's not a bad thing. It's just, it's just kind of what I noticed. And the last thing I'll say that I really picked up on, and I don't know if I talked much about it the last time we covered Santana, but I really do like Carlos Santana's guitar tone. I think it's... I would say it is unique. It's not the most unique to tone I've ever heard, but I really do like it. It is smooth. So Rob Thomas, did
so smooth
something that was very smooth. But I do like his not just his guitar playing, but more specifically the tone that he has. I really do like that. So good album. Like you're right, Josh. It's relatively short. It's not hard listen at all. It's very accessible, very easy to feel the grooves, feel the beats, and it was a lot of fun. It's a good, nice little spring/summer album as well. I would say, like good for barbecues. Probably,
it's a very danceable album too.
Yeah,
I was moving to the beats on some of them.
Video, please for the YouTube.
That'll go on Twitter.
Well, I mean, Matt, you stole a lot of my stuff. The two things I was going to say is it's kind of part two of From Santana, which was a year earlier, 1969. I actually liked Santana better. I thought it was a little bit more chaotic and frantic and had a little bit more energy. I definitely felt that this album, while good, could blend in the background a little bit. And I found that it blended, especially as the album went on, it blended a little bit for me, even though I was a present listener to it. Which the first album definitely did not do on the first listen. That's why I'd be interested to listen to it a second time, blend it like that again. The other thing Matt mentioned that I noticed immediately was, Carlos Santana's guitar tone, but also that he's a blues guitarist, but with the tone of an electric guitarist. And that's, I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like if you took B.B. King and you like plugged him in a little bit, would be kind of how I describe it a little bit, and then complicated it a little bit, hanging on notes, more wailing notes, things along those lines.
Well, B.B. King played an electric guitar. I'm not.
He did, but I guess that's why I'm not doing a good job of explaining. I think it's like if you did evolutionary B.B. King, but you also gave it like the tone of the electric guitarist of the late '60s. So that tone you heard a little bit in Zeppelin, a little bit in Jimi Hendrix, the increased guitar tone from production and studio work.
Well, I would kind of describe it as like it's like a thinner, lighter kind of guitar tone. Like sometimes blues guitar can get very, like a heavier or deeper sound, and Santana's not like that. Santana's got more of a, I don't want to say tinny,
airy,
but it's a lighter sound. Yeah.
It's like metallic in some way. I don't know how you would describe it.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guitarists, him when you hear him. And so all the way down to, what he was doing later in his career. You just put him on a track with other solo artists and there's, that's that Santana sound, We joke a lot about, the Wyclef song, Maria, right? That. Stuff like that, yeah. But
that album was huge. That
it sold
a bazillion copies, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we're covering that or not down the road. That's a
No,
long
we're
way
not.
away.
I looked. Surprisingly, yeah, it's like it's didn't get
Can I
high
also
reviews.
Can I also mention that we've been talking about what albums sound like they're from the future and what albums sound like they're of the time, because I feel like we haven't gotten one that straddles the middle that we've talked about so far. Now we'll have some others tonight, so maybe that's where it's at. But I feel like half the albums we've covered in the 70s sound like they're rooted in 1970, and half of them sound like they're blasts from the future a little bit. And this is the first album we listened to that I think digs back into the 60s, but also portends a little bit of the mid 70s a little bit. But it's still very much an album of its time, I feel. That doesn't mean it's not worth listening to. It's very much worth listening to. But it's very much a late 60s, early 70s album, I would say. I also want to talk about what a fascinating cover, and this is where I wish I'd been able to do some research. The album has a really interesting cover,
Yeah.
and I'm curious as to what it is. I did not cheat and look it up, but man, I really wanted to, and I certainly am going to bring it up in a future episode in a Cleaning the Stacks, just because I'm curious as to what the
Josh, does
background
it
of
say
that
anything
is.
cool on the cover that you're looking at?
No, but there's got a lot of religious imagery, and there's a naked black woman on the front, which is
Sweet.
nice, and
Yeah.
also some sort of like angel demon figure with bongos in between her legs.
Yep.
And on the back, you got, I think, Santana's maybe there on the back side of the album with
Is he naked too?
no, he's got a hat on, and he kind of looks happy. And then, yeah, there's a lot going on in this album cover.
Does he have a cowbell? That's the other thing I forgot. There's a lot of like that. That's the other thing with the percussion. It's not just regular drums, but with the bongos and like a lot of tom-tom drums, a lot of cowbell as well. That's the other thing. I know that you had brought that up initially, John, with the first album that we covered, but the percussion certainly stands out here as well, much like it did with that other
Absolutely.
self-titled record. Yeah.
It sure does. And in many ways, Santana albums to me are as much percussion albums as they are Carlos Santana guitar albums.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one thing I want to really mention. As much as Santana is clearly present on these albums, to me, the band Santana isn't Santana without the percussion, because that's as important as the guitar.
He's also I appreciate he's unafraid to incorporate, Spanish into the songs. And you have full on Spanish songs like Como Que Va, and not have any, people not complaining or saying, why isn't this in English and blah, blah, blah.
What does Oye Como Va mean?
Oh, gosh, I didn't look it up.
What does
I didn't take
Oye?
Spanish.
Well, Oye is
It's like all come listen or something, or all
I
come
think,
here, maybe.
Let me think. It's isn't it like listen to how it goes? I think is what it translates to, if I remember
Listen
correctly.
to how it goes.
Yeah. I'll look it up.
doesn't-
Once
yeah,
again,
there's too many syllables for
not
that.
doing the research here. We're really just kind of going. I think it translates to like listen to how it goes or something.
Listen
like
to
that.
how my rhythm goes.
There we
Yeah,
go.
that's
There we
way
go.
too many
So-
syllables. He did
My Spanish 4-level Spanish got me through most of it right there. So yeah. So
Yeah, there's
cool.
other
Can
ones
I-
too, like Samba Pati. That's not English.
Well, that's samba for you, right? Samba parati.
Oh that could be it. Okay.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's samba for you. That's what that is. So that's pretty straightforward.
It
I
actually,
do like.
I guess it also means it actually translates to listen to how. So
Listen to how to what?
I think that's like the verb to listen to how.
Listen.
That's for what?
so-
Samba pati translates to that?
No, oye como va.
Oye como va. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oye como va. Gotcha. Yep.
I
So-
do like. I forgot to mention. I do like how it does deviate sometimes. Like you got Black Magic Woman, and then it goes into like towards the end, it just goes into like a different type of jam out. I think that might be the Gypsy Queen. That's got that title of the song has two titles, and that might be the Gypsy Queen part. But it picks up around the 4-minute mark. It gets faster paced, and they're start the faster drum, like a drum circle kind of a thing going on. So yeah, and it's like, again, it also reminds me sometimes of like almost like African drums as well. It's not just a Latin kind of thing. I'm also getting some just images in my head of like African drum circles and things like that.
Well, there's definitely some African sort of imagery on this album cover as well.
Yeah.
On the back, so maybe that has some meaning to it.
Well, yeah, I wonder what Abraxas means.
I I asked a friend of mine who's very, very Greek, and he said Abraxas is sort of like it's a word that doesn't mean anything. It's like a mystical word, was his description of it for me. So,
Is it a Greek word?
Like Alakazam.
it's a Greek word. Yeah, it's a Greek word.
Oh.
It's tied to like mythology, but it doesn't line up to like a god or a figure, at least from his take. So we'll see if he's full of shit or like if he's right. But yeah. So, can I mention one last thing though? Because we have about a minute left.
Yes.
Can I mention that like this Latin guitar rock continues to still be played? All the way through the 90s, the 00s, 10s. I mean, samba music, even things like Los Lonely Boys, Juanes, Mars Volta. Like, there's a lot of groups that come out of that, like, Chicano, like, guitar, and they take it in different ways, but you can still find a lot of Chicano and Latin guitar-driven music in an era now when guitar-driven music is not necessarily in the forefront. So, I mean, in many ways, like Carlos Santana, it's a 1970 album, but he sort of laid the template that people ran with and went in a lot of different directions. So shout out to him as a revolutionary. Yep. Any final thoughts you guys want to have in the last 30 seconds here?
Nope. Thumbs up.
Yeah, great. It's great.
Gotcha. I would give it a thumbs in the middle. I don't like this one as much as the original Santana, but it's still well worth a listen. It's totally inoffensive. It's quick. And, if you like guitar and percussion, how can you not like this album, right? So, all right.
Indeed.
That puts a bow on Santana-Abraxas.